political commentator, columnist, and talk show host Dick Morris. Dick, you've always been candid with me discussing issues, whether we're on camera or off camera. You just heard what President Obama had to say about ISIS and then what Vice President Biden said. This discrepancy, is it disturbing?
Well, the discrepancy between Obama and Obama is disturbing. When on the one hand he says that he wants to wipe ISIS from the face of the earth, and on the other hand he says he wants to reduce it to manageable proportions. That's like a cancer doctor telling you he wants to reduce the tumor through chemotherapy to manageable proportions. It's not very good news, and it doesn't really work. The more serious inconsistency, though, is Obama against Obama from Obama back in January. In January, he was interviewed by a reporter for an article for New York Magazine, Remnick. And he said, asked about ISIS, which had just captured Fallujah, he said, well, it's like dressing up a JV team in Lakers uniforms. It doesn't make them all Kobe Bryant. And the entire focus of the president's remarks only 8 months ago was to minimize the ISIS threat. And then earlier this week, we have Ernest, the president's press secretary, saying that ISIS really isn't capable of launching a major attack in the United States, that only little attacks are possible, meaning 4 or 5 people killed here or there. Well, the Boston Marathon had only 2 dead, and that certainly was quite a hit. I think that we're witnessing here a fundamental problem in Obama's view of terrorism. Unless you spell it with a capital T, he doesn't recognize it. So Al-Qaeda, okay, that's terrorist. We have to deal with that. But Benghazi and Ansar al-Sharia and the guys in Libya who just took over 11 jetliners and might use them next week to ram into buildings, and the crowd at ISIS in Iraq and in Syria, they're just local jihadists. They're just a regional problem, nothing we should really worry about. And that's just insane. It's like saying the big tumors we ought to pay attention to, the small and growing tumors, hey, they're just small.
Dick, you are blessed with close to an encyclopedic mind, if not a photographic memory on what has been said before. But on the off chance that there are those who have joined us who may not have seen a side-by-side comparison with what President Obama said and then what the Vice President said yesterday, let's take a listen and then a couple of specific questions concerning the Vice President. Here it comes.
We know that if we are joined by the international community, we can continue to shrink ISIL's sphere of influence, its effectiveness, its financing, its military capabilities, to the point where it is a manageable problem.
And when people harm Americans, we don't retreat. We don't forget. We take care of those who are grieving, and when that's finished, they should know we will follow them to the hell until they are brought to justice. Because hell is where they will reside. Hell is where they will reside.
So, Dick, if we synthesize the different comments from the President and Vice President, we're going to manage ISIS right to the gates of hell. All kidding aside, on a very serious topic, is the reason the Vice President so passionate because he wants to become Commander-in-Chief? He's gearing up for his own campaign in 2016?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. The word is that he's definitely going to run, regardless of what the polling may show. And like Hillary, he wants to put himself to the right of Obama on ISIS. And he doesn't want, when it blows up, to be blamed for Obama's policy of neglecting it and appeasing it. It's important to understand that ISIS wouldn't exist if it weren't for Obama's policy of not intervening in Syria when the civil war was beginning there, and letting ISIS, the extreme wing, take over the insurgents, use the weapons we were sending to the so-called sectarian moderate opposition, take those weapons and bring them over and use them in the rest of Syria and in Iraq. We, in effect, created ISIS. And just as we created al-Qaeda when we funded the Taliban back in the anti-Russian days. And Obama really is responsible for that. And from the very beginning, he's minimized this threat.
Well, as I hear you talk about this, I hear that reflexive comment from so many on the left and from the Democrat Party that this is all George W. Bush. But you're telling us, no, the blame for ISIS rests squarely on Barack Obama.
Yeah, I mean, look, Bush destabilized Iraq when he invaded and when he killed Saddam Hussein. It was nice and stable under the totalitarian, authoritarian, kill your own people rule of Saddam Hussein. So to that extent, you could blame Bush. But ISIS was founded, really developed around 2010, 2011, directly as a result of the revolution in Syria and of Obama's decision not to try to shape those events.
Let's turn back to the domestic political situation with the upcoming midterms. Governor Scott Walker came in for some criticism the other day from the chairman of the Democratic National Committee, Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz. She really, I know we have red meat in politics, but what she said yesterday was just horrible. I'll read the statement. Unfortunately, we don't have the audio clip. Here's what Congresswoman Wasserman Schultz said. Scott Walker has given women the back of his hand. I know that is stark. I know that is direct, but that is reality. And Dick, she goes on to say that Walker is, quote, grabbing women by the hair and pulling us back. Now, was that too far even for Debbie Wasserman Schultz, comparing Scott Walker to committing domestic violence against women?
Yeah, it really is a little bit insane. Walker is pro-life, but he's been very good on a range of women's issues. I think probably the issue that concerns women the most is education. And on that, he's taken the power of shaping the Wisconsin schools away from the unions and given it to the elected school boards, with the result that the amount of money spent in the classroom as opposed to bureaucracy has increased exponentially, and the performance of Wisconsin schools has increased, even as the union has eroded its power base. I think he's been very constructive in that area.
Dick, you spoke about education being a key issue for women nationally and in Wisconsin. In your recent column, you addressed another issue that perhaps led to the gender gap when I was in Congress, the so-called gender gap. Your column dealt with income inequality. And you have some ideas about how the GOP can capitalize on that. About a minute and a half left. Give us the lowdown.
This is, in my view, the key issue in the 14 elections that the Republicans should hone in on. Obama has said the issue is income inequality. Well, nothing encourages income inequality or causes it more than the influx of millions and millions of immigrants who are willing to work for almost nothing. A recent study by the Center for Immigration Studies shows that since 2000, 127,000 fewer native-born Americans are employed, but 6 million more foreign-born people are employed. And the need to restrict immigration and not have this porous open border in order to raise wage levels and decrease unemployment among Americans is, I think, paramount. And there was a doctrine that I used politically when I worked for Clinton called triangulation. And one of the theses of that was use your tools to fix their car. So, for example, crime is a Republican issue. Well, when we were a Democrat, use gun control and more cops to fix that.
Gotcha.
Income inequality is the ultimate Democratic issue. Use Republican tools to restrict immigration to address income inequality.
Wise counsel from Dick Morris. Dick, I'll see if my former colleagues take you up on that as the campaign approaches. We thank you for your time, and America's Forum will continue after this.
Smile. No matter how well you provide for your family today, if you don't have life insurance, their future may be at risk. Think about what would happen if you were gone. Would they struggle to pay the bills and face an uncertain future? They don't have to. You can help guarantee those you love $200, $500, $700